Hey guys, welcome back to my channel Sam Talks Books, and welcome if you're new. Before we get into the video, I want to apologise that I look a mess today. I'm not feeling that great. I think I've caught my partner's bug, so thank you, Irvin. So in the month of October, I read 8 books and I had 2 DNF books. I had 1 3-star book, 5 4 stars and 2 5 stars. So it was a pretty decent month apart from those 2 DNF books that we're going to talk about now. So the first book that I DNF'd was a highly anticipated book for me. It was a new book as well. I think it came out during the month of October, and that was White Smoke, which I'll put here. I really was excited for this book and it really disappointed. I was just really bored and irritated reading it. So our main character is a teenager and she's constantly using the word dude, and so is everyone else who is at her age, which I guess is kind of normal, but I still don't feel like the word do need to be used that often. And also I felt like the story focused more on Marigold's need for weed so it could have anxiety, and I've got nothing against that. People can do what they want. I just felt like it's taken away the focus on the whole spooky stuff that could have been happening. I was really bored and I just chose to DNF it, and I ended up taking it back to the shop and getting it switched out for another book. Let's go on to the final book that I DNF'd, and that one is a book that I was really sad to DNF. This book had been sitting on my shelf for a while and I was really excited for it, and a lot of people that have read it that I know have really enjoyed it, and that book is The Guest List. So I got about 130 pages in this book and I was forcing myself to have to pick this up. I was really bored. It was just really slow and not much was happening. Like certain secrets are coming out, but not enough to keep me like interested. We still at this point didn't know who had been killed. I just wasn't having a good time reading it. After much thought, because it took me a while to get to the decision to DNF it, I chose to just DNF it and move on. This book has a lot of mixed reviews. Some people love it and then a lot of people think it's really predictable and boring. I'm kind of sad that I DNF'd that one, but as for White Smoke, I'm not really that disappointed just because a lot of people who read it have said it was really disappointing, so I feel like I did the right thing now. Anyway, let's get on to the books that I did read during October. The book that I gave 3 stars to was Once Upon a Broken Heart. Now, I actually really enjoyed this book. I thought it was really good. I just didn't feel like it was brilliant, excellent or amazing or anything like that to get 4 or 5 stars. This book was a lot of fun, a lot happens, there's a lot of twists and turns. I really enjoyed the character Jax. However, the story moved really fast. Like within the first 2 chapters it was like way too fast and needed to slow down just a tiny bit. Although like you kind of understand why I had to move fast, I feel like it could have still been slowed down a little bit. Another thing is I didn't fully connect to the main character. I really liked her. I thought she was a lot of fun, but I just didn't connect to her like I do other characters. And the ending was so anticlimactic. Like, is that anticlimactic? Is that the right word? I think it is. Anticlimactic. No, it's anticlimactic. Okay, moving on. So the ending was kind of predictable. Not the little twist that happens at the like near the end, but just what's happening at the end to lead on to the next book was kind of obvious that was going to happen. However, I am going to read the next one because I do want to see if our main character Marigold, no, her name's not Marigold, that's White Smoke. Oh my god, see, I don't feel well. Evelyn, I think that's her name. I want to see if her character grows in the next book and matures and becomes less gullible, because she is a very gullible character in this. And I also want to see what's going to happen with Jax, and I am interested to know what's going to happen. Hopefully the world as well, we get more explanation of that and get to see the magic system a bit more. I wasn't bored reading it. It was a lot of fun. It just wasn't quite a 4 or 5 star. It was more 3.5. So still a really good read and enjoyable. Now we're going to go on to the books that I gave 4 stars to. And the first one I gave 4 star to was The Perfect Family. This book was a lot of fun. We followed 4 different points of view: the mum, the dad, the daughter and the son. The house starts getting targeted and they all think that their secret could be the reason why this is happening. So none of the family knows that everyone is keeping a secret, and the book is really good how it does that, and I really enjoyed reading from multiple point of views, learning the secrets. It was done really well. I had a really good time reading this. Now the reason why it got a 4 star, not a 5, was because of a certain thing that happens in this book that I believe needed a content warning or trigger warning or whatever it is. I just think the author should have thought about people who might be going into reading this and that certain thing that happens, which I'm going to just say, sexual assault takes place and there's no trigger warning could really affect the person reading this. I felt really disgusted and just kind of like taken back because it happened and I wasn't expecting it. It almost made me put the book down because I wish I had had some warning so then I was aware of what was going to happen. And if the author was to say, yeah, but then it would take away the element of surprise, then you should come up with something different that doesn't need a trigger warning. And that's all I'm going to say. Otherwise, this was a really good book. That's why I ended up giving this book 4 stars, because I genuinely really enjoyed it and the ending was really good as well. I think this book was done really well, apart from that one little thing that should have had a trigger warning. And I am planning to read more from this author at some point. This was a really good read for October time. Another book that I gave 4 stars this month that wasn't on my October TBR is The XX. So I originally was going to read For All of Time, but I wanted to read something that had a little bit of a more spooky feel to it, and I found out about this book during October, went out and got it straight away, and I had a really good time reading this. We follow a character who puts a hex on her ex-boyfriend. They don't think it actually worked or anything, and they kind of just go on with their lives, and then 9 years later her ex comes back to town and they realise that this hex is a bit more than they thought it was, and now the town is in danger of being cursed and all this weird stuff starts happening around the town, and they've kind of got to sew this curse and fix it so then the little town doesn't end up becoming destroyed. And a lot happens in this book, like the romance, it's like a second chance romance, and it's fun, and there's some funny moments in this book that made me laugh. There's one particular moment in this book that I loved involving a cat, and that's all I'm going to say because I love that scene. It made me laugh so much, and I honestly really enjoyed this. This is actually a debut novel as well, so I think that Erin did really well with this, and it's perfect for like spooky season and the spooky vibes. The only reason why it wasn't a 5-star is because I'd like to have a bit more spooky stuff surrounding like the curse, and that be just a little bit more focused on, just a tiny bit more. Otherwise, this is a really fun read and highly recommend it. Even if it's not like for spooky season, you just want to read it, I'd say you can read it whenever. But yeah, I'm really glad that I picked this one up, and I'm going to do a full review on this one at some point in the future. The next book I read was Rasable Ats. This book has been getting like a lot of hype and a lot of people saying it's one of those books that you need to read, and I'm really glad that I did. We follow these 2 dads who are trying to search for the people that murdered their sons. Their sons were married and gay, and both these dads weren't very happy about that. They weren't very welcoming about their sons being gay and being married. When their sons get murdered and the killers are still out there, they can't deal with that, and they don't trust the police because they are ex-cons. So they decide to take matters into their own hands and go on search to find out who killed their sons and get revenge. So it is a revenge story, which normally is not my thing, but this is a really good book, really moving, really touching. A lot happens in it. There is a lot of violence as well in this book, but it also deals with the whole racism thing and what it's like to be black and what it's like to be gay, or what it's like to be black and gay. And there's definitely like a lot of talk in that. You know, you may not think you're racist, but then you say something that's not okay, and this book definitely deals with that. Like, it definitely makes you question certain things. Honestly, this book was so good. It made me cry as well. Like, I literally bawled my eyes out at one particular bit in this book, and it made me angry just how people are treated. It is a really good book, and I do recommend that people read it. I don't know if I'd ever read it again. I probably would, to be honest, at one point in the future. A really beautifully written book. It's a story that I'm not going to forget. I think that the author did really well with this. The only reason why I didn't give this book 5 stars because it's labelled as a thriller, mystery. I'll put up what it is here. And I didn't feel like the thriller aspect was in this. I got the mystery and the crime section, but otherwise that was the only reason really. But it's a really good book. Like, I'm glad I read it. Next up on the list for a 4-star read was Kingdom of the Cursed. Oh, this book was so good. It just didn't have that 5-star feeling. There's nothing wrong with this. I enjoyed every single moment of it. It's steamy, and normally I don't like that in books, but it was okay in this one. And we learn a lot more in this one from the first one. We learn a lot more in this one. I don't want to go too much in detail into this one, just because if you haven't read the first one, I don't want to spoil it. I will be going into more detail review for this one and the first one, non-spoilers, in the future. But I was not disappointed with this one, and the ending, like, how can I just leave it like that? I need the next one so badly. This author really knows how to write and pull you into that world and create this scenic setting and engulf you in it. And honestly, it's just such a good series and I can't wait to continue it. But I have no idea when the next one's coming out. I'm hoping next year sometime. We don't have to wait too long. But yeah, I'm going to be doing a full review on this one at some point in the future. So the final book on this list that I gave 4 stars was the last book I read this month, and it's kind of like on the whim that I went out and bought it just because I saw Meg with books, and I'll link that specific video below. She did a reading vlog where she read this book and she raved about this book. She loved it so much that it convinced me to go out and get it, and I'm so glad I did. And that is The Thursday Murder Club. Sometimes celebrity authors really fail at writing books, but sometimes they do really good. And in this case, Richard Osman did good. He created these unique characters and this really cool story. This book was funny, it was smart, it was sad, and it was just so intriguing. We actually follow 4 characters pushing on 80 who live in a retirement village, and on Thursdays they get together and they try to solve cold cases. And then a real life murder happens on their doorstep. Yeah, it kind of goes from there. I don't want to say anything to spoil it, but these old people are smart. May I say smarter than the police? Maybe. But they are so lovable. It was so enjoyable. The reveal of who did what and what happened was so good. Like, it was done so well. I can't wait to read the next one, which I actually ended up buying when I was kind of reading this one. I think I was like 2 chapters in and I asked my partner to go and pick it up because he gets discount. And I was like, you know what? I might enjoy this enough to read a sequel at some point. And yeah, I want to read a sequel soon. This was such a fun read. If you like murder mysteries, highly recommend it. And even if you don't want to get into murder mystery, I would recommend this. It's done so well, and I'm going to be doing a more detailed review definitely on this one. Again, no non-spoilers. That should be coming in the next month or 2. Fingers crossed, because I've got a lot of reviews that I want to do. But yeah, I'm really glad that I picked this book up. I didn't expect it to make me cry or laugh as much as it did. The final 2 books are the 2 books that I gave 5 stars to this month, and the first one being Edgars' Guide to Murder. I just want to see what the first one's about. Everyone keeps talking about this book, and I just decided, you know what, I'm in the mood to read it. I'm going to pick it up. While I read this one, I actually listened to audiobook as well, which I highly recommend. Oh my god, reading this made me feel like literally a little investigator. This was, oh my god, this was so good. There were so many twists and turns. There's so many moments where you like on the edge of your seat. It is done so well, and it's so worth the hype. I really can't wait to continue this series. But this is such an easy 5-star read, and again, going to be doing a more detailed review. I fully understand why people love this book, and if you've been putting it off, I would say just go for it, because I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's so brilliantly done. What am I trying to say? Something that was putting me off on picking it up was that it's YA, and I was worried that it was going to feel really young. It definitely didn't. It never felt like that. It was just done perfectly, and Pip is very mature for her age. She's very smart. I love the characters in this book, and I cannot wait to continue the series. Unfortunately, I can't read the sequel this month because if you haven't seen my November TBR, my partner chose my TBR, and I'll link that video below so you can go and see it. So I'm going to have to wait until I can read that one. So I'm hoping maybe December. Maybe if not, then I'm going to try and binge it in January. The last book on this list just so happens to be the favourite book that I read, The Lighthouse Witches. So this again was a 5-star. Was not expecting for this one to be a 5 stars at all. I thought maybe 4. This book took me by surprise, and I am 100% doing a review. This one will probably be sooner than the others. I'm planning to try and record this one next week, so it should be up next week sometime. I can't wait to do a review from this one. Again, it's going to be non-spoiler, but I want to go into more detail for why this is a 5-star read. I don't want this video to be too long, but this was incredible. And if you haven't seen my October TBR, I do go into detail about this one of what it's about, so I'll link that video below as well. Yeah, this book was a favourite of the month. It was just so good. Perfect for October, perfect for whenever. I absolutely loved everything about this book. The whole, how everything come together as well, and how it gets explained was so smartly done. Is that word, smartly done? And I also cried, which I did not expect. This book I would highly recommend. It's one of those books that I will always recommend. And I can't wait to read more from CJ Cook in the future because, oh my god, I'm so shocked about this book. The cover is so pretty, so I mean, it matches the inside. So that's all the books that I read during the month of October, which was a pretty decent reading month. I'm really happy with all the books I read. I only had one 3-star read, which again, I'm not unhappy about because I still really enjoyed it, and I had nothing under 3 stars. Apart from the 2 DNS, which we are not going to talk about anymore. I really enjoyed what I read this month, and I'm really looking forward to doing reviews on all of them. Like I said, the Lighthouse Witches will be the next book that I do a big review on. If you haven't checked out my other 2 reviews for Invisible as Addie LaRue, and I give a sneak peek of the illustrated edition, I'll link that one below, and 6 Crimson Cranes, which is a favourite book. I did a review for that one, and I'll link that one below as well. I'll be really happy if you guys wanted to go and check those out. So that's all the books I read during the month of October, and I think I had a pretty decent reading month, apart from those 2 DNF books that we are never going to talk about again. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, it'd mean the world to me, and turn on the notification bell so you get alerted to when I next upload. And until next time, bye!